Hi, my name's Penny. Welcome to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about my favorite things about Booktube. So this is a Strikebackvideoathon prompt, and I don't really know that I have anything particularly interesting to say, but I thought I would just talk and see what comes out of my mouth. Maybe it'll be somewhat interesting. So if you don't know, Strikebackvideoathon is a videoathon that's happening up until the 22nd of February, which is the point when YouTube is changing its monetization thresholds and a lot of people are no longer going to qualify. So this videoathon is to try to help small booktubers who are really close to the threshold meet those thresholds, but also just a really good opportunity for small booktubers to connect with each other, find each other, and for people who like to watch booktube videos to find small booktubers that they want to support and that they like. Because honestly, I do know that before I started making videos, and even now, sometimes it's really hard to find booktubers that you haven't seen before. Even though there's a million small ones out there. Million? I'm always really curious actually what the real number is, but I don't think there's any official Booktube statistics, but there's a lot of channels out there, and finding the ones that you connect with and that you find useful can be really hard. So anything that connects booktubers or people interested in Booktube is a good thing. So my favorite things about Booktube, obviously the first most obvious thing is just finding out about more books than I ever knew about before. So I think before Booktube I pretty much used to stick to the same authors that I knew about, authors that had been in my school library or the small young adult section of my public library when I was a teenager, and a lot of those selections had just been based on the cover, so they weren't particularly selective. But now that I watch Booktube videos, I just hear about new books all the time. Instead of struggling to find books that I might be interested in, I've actually got the opposite problem now where there's way too many books that I'm interested in, and I have to figure out how to pick the ones that I think are going to best suit me. So that probably brings me to the second thing that I really like about Booktube, and that is just that you get to hear lots of people's opinions about different books. Now it is true that you can't always trust what people say, or at least you can't trust that just because someone likes a book or says that they liked a book that you will too. Firstly, because everybody has different tastes, and even if they like a lot of the same books as you, it doesn't mean that you're going to be exactly the same in your preferences. And of course the other bit is that a lot of people on Booktube, especially the larger booktubers, get paid to promote certain books or to talk about certain books. So that does mean you can't always trust the hype. And I worry less about people lying, like that is what it is, but I feel like if you've been paid to promote a book, then even if you've been paid for an honest review, when you read it, you're going to know that you were paid to promote it. And so you're going to feel kind of shitty if you don't like it, and you have to be like, oh, well, thanks for the money, but I'm now going to say bad things about your book. Even though you might say that is, keeping your integrity. But I think the action that would have the most integrity would be actually to say, hey, take your money back, I didn't like your book. But most people can't really afford to turn money down, so you can't really expect that. And really, that would be just as bad, because I feel like in the first situation where people have taken money to promote a book, most of the time they're not going to lie. They're just going to convince themselves that they actually did like the book, even if they didn't. Like, I sometimes find when books are so overhyped, when you read it, it's really hard to tell whether you like it, because the hype has had so much influence on how you're thinking about the book when you're reading it. And I feel like it would be the same thing if you've been paid to read a book, then that money is going to influence how you think about the book while you read it. You're going to be reading it trying to think of good things you can say about it, so then you're going to notice more good things that you can say about it. And if it was the other way, where if you didn't like the book, you had to give the money back, then people would be really trying to convince themselves that they liked the book so that they could keep the money. So it can be interesting to hear what people have to say about the books, but it's usually only a part of what helps me decide whether I want to read a book. A lot more of it is about my own personal preferences. I know what kinds of books I tend to like. Also, I quite often wait till the hype's died down a bit and see if people are still talking about the book several months or even a year later. If people are still talking about it, then it's more likely that it was a good one. And luckily, my TBR is so long that it really doesn't matter. Like, I'm not desperate to find new books, so I can afford to wait to find out whether a book is good. Another thing that I really like about Booktube is the fact that you can find people who've read the same books as you, and then you can talk to them about those books. In my real life, I have my mum and my sister do read a little bit, but they tend to be in the like read a few books a year category, whereas I read 50 to 100 books a year, so I can only talk to them about a few books. And I just find in general, in real life, like, there's less people in my real life than there is out in the internet. So there's way more people on the internet that I can talk to about the books that I've read, and a much greater chance of finding people who have interesting things to say about the books that I've read and who have actually read them. And in fact, that's part of why I started my own channel, is just kind of this hope that I'll start drawing people to me that have read similar books to me, and then we can talk about those books. And I think probably my last favorite thing about Booktube that I'm going to talk about that isn't really bookish. I just like watching cool and interesting people on the internet talk about their experiences, whether it's reading or whatever. But I guess because I'm a reader, I tend to relate better to other readers. So Booktube helps me find other reader type people who are also sometimes, not always, but sometimes cool and have interesting lives and interesting perspectives to share. And yeah, I just really like that, which is interesting really, because I don't really ever think about sharing anything on my channel other than books, but I actually really like a lot of channels that do talk about primarily books but also share a bit of their life. So maybe I'll share more of my life than just this rectangle of it. I'll think about it. I don't know, I only just started my Booktube channel a couple of months ago, and I'm still somewhat nervous about people I actually know finding this channel. So we'll think about it. So I guess that's all I really have to say about my favorite things about Booktube. Hopefully it was somewhat interesting to someone. I'd love to know what other things you find good about Booktube, or that keeps you watching Booktube videos. And thank you so much for watching today. I hope you have a really great day, and I will see you next time.